Wow, after 8 years, I am back. It's crazy. I've not even thought about getting back onto YouTube, but I found my login for my old account, and I am just gonna do what I love to do on YouTube because I love to watch Minecraft. So you know what? Why not? I'm gonna just make some Minecraft videos. Welcome to my Greece world. I've been working on it for about a month now. As you can see, we have some quite beautiful builds. And this series, I didn't want to just make it strictly about gaming. I know what is entertaining for me, and that is stories. And so I am going to be just building. This whole channel is not going to be about Minecraft. It's just going to be about stories and then my thoughts on stories. So I love the builds here. We got the Coliseum. I'll kind of show off what I'm about to do before I get into the stories. But right now, we need storage. As you can see, we have all of these random blocks and we need to make a storage build. So down here, we have so much mined out and we have a whole build. Now, I'm going to get into the video. It's so good to be back. I don't know how often I'm going to be posting, but this is going to be a lot of fun. My mom got arrested and I got sent to a foster home because she gave me no name. My parents had me right after high school by accident, and my dad initially had told her he was excited to start a family with her. But when I was born, he split and he moved out, leaving my mom behind with me. So as a result, my mom basically gave me no given name, said stuff about me that I didn't do, and never completed my legal paperwork properly. She always called me you, girl, kid, child, mistake whenever she needed me to do something for her, and by the time I got to school, I told everyone my name was Yu. People asked me if I was Chinese because they thought it was spelled YU. Most of the time in class, I was jealous of all the kids having beautiful names like Claire, Arena, Shungo, etc. I used to cry a lot in my room as a kid because I basically had no given name. And I asked my mom why didn't I have a name? All the other kids in school have names. And she said that I was a mistake who ruined her life. Plus, because of me, my dad split when I was born and we were broke. Plus, I don't deserve a name. This went on until second grade when one day my second grade teacher called me after class to ask me if my name was really you because I spelled it 4 different ways on my spelling homework, and I told her I had lots of names: you, girl, kid, child, mistake. She was horrified and she contacted the police, plus CPS, and they took my mom to jail. Plus, I got placed in a foster home. I stayed in the foster home for around 4 weeks, still with no given name, until a rich couple, Kate and William, adopted me. As soon as I got adopted, I got my name legally changed by the court and I chose the name Haley because I saw Haley Bieber on the cover of a Marie Claire magazine I found on the coffee table in the foster home, and I was genuinely mesmerized by the name Haley. Plus, something clicked in, and I was like, yep, my name is Haley now. Honestly, to this day, I hated what my mom did to me as a kid. I still don't understand how did she get by this long without legally giving me a name, because you have to have a name to be registered for lots of different things like driver's license, school, work, passports, legal proceedings, and I'm forever grateful Kate and William adopted me. Plus, I feel so comfortable with my name as Haley now. My mom was sentenced to 5 years in jail for child abuse plus neglect, and I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive her for what she did. Man, wow. Mom problems all over the place. Holy. That is a sad story. Wow. Well, honestly, I kind of like the name you, especially YU. Like you could have just embraced that name. I know that might be offensive. I'm kidding. But that is a sad couple, and shout out to the people that adopted you. That's crazy. My friend didn't realize he was looking at a naked statue of my mom. I've talked about it before, but only on a surface level because it's still so embarrassing. So basically, yeah, there's a naked statue of my mom near the pool in our backyard patio. My dad had it sculpted recently as a gift to her, and the statue itself is roughly 10 feet tall on a pedestal. Every time I go to the pool, I have to pretend like it's not there because, yeah, that's my mom. My new friend from work came over the house, and I didn't even end up telling him about the statue because I thought he wouldn't go to the pool outside. And then he says he's going outside to smoke, and I'm like, okay, maybe he won't notice the statue. Yeah, I was wrong. After like 20 minutes, he comes back into my room and he's like, "Bro, who is that statue of? She's so fucking hot." And I'm like, "That's my mom." And he goes from gooning to wanting to yeet himself from our house's balcony. Like he even laughed afterwards and asked why it's there. And I told him why. And he asked if my dad was a bachelor beforehand. No, my dad just likes naked statues. I guess it's an acquired taste. Shout out to the dad, honestly. I think that has to be the greatest sign of love is just to show off your wife like that. But in front of the kids and the kids' friends, yeah, that's a dangerous game you're playing. That's a dangerous game. I am 19 and I sold my pictures to make easy money. For the people who didn't see my first post, a week ago I had uploaded a faceless picture of me and I started getting random DMs from people offering me money for normal pictures of me. At first I ignored them, but one guy offered me $150 up front and I decided to do it. And he offered me more for shirtless pictures, so I did that too. After that, I did the same thing for more people for lesser money. I kept telling myself I'd stop after a few times, but it started feeling way too easy. The attention, the money, the feeling of finally not having to beg my parents for money again. It made me feel better about myself. I realized people were ready to spend hundreds of dollars just to see some pictures of me. I was always surrounded by money related problems while growing up, and I never thought strangers online would pay me that much for pictures of me. I still don't fully know if what I'm doing is right or wrong and what will be the consequences of doing this, but I don't want to go back to thinking and worrying about money all the time. I think I'll quit doing this after I make a little more money, but I want to keep doing it right now. Honestly, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you are a whore. All right, that might have been too harsh of a word. This is just basic prostitution. Obviously, it seems like these guys are reaching out to get pictures, and sadly, that's the world we live in. But yeah, to actually do it for just like pocket change, I know $100 isn't like obviously that's a lot of money, but to sell your body doing it is just like a whole different level. So obviously that's my opinion, but this is honestly a good way of making money for a lot of people, and I respect it. But yeah, I don't think the backlash from something like this is gonna be taken well. Went on an ill-fated coffee date and was reminded why I'm single. So I'm 26. I recently met a man who was very persistent. I was initially not interested, but relented to coffee. I'm not focused on dating right now, but I was like, fine, I'll give it a shot. I'm very glad that I'm staying single now because this was dead ass one of the worst dates I've ever been on, and I might just want to be single forever. I've had a lot of terrible experiences, and this did not improve things. Here's a list of what went wrong. He told me he worked for the parks department at first, prior to the date. At the actual date, he confessed that he did not work there anymore and that he had just gotten a restaurant job today. This immediately turned me off. I'm no gold digger because I have my own, but how are you 44 going after a 26-year-old and unemployed? I love an older man, but you have to have something to your name at that age if you're going to pursue me. Number two. So at this point, I'm immediately turned off. Nonetheless, I'm still trying to make conversation. I asked him what his goals were. He said that he had been a pro boxer in the past. I Googled him. He was semi pro and prolific enough to where he probably has some kind of CTE and that he wanted to go back to boxing. I'm like, yeah, but you're 44. I've kind of reached a point where with men, I'm not smiling and nodding anymore. He was like, that is true. That is true. But I believe in myself. Listen, as a creative, I am all for believing in yourself or whatever the case may be. But how am I more practical than you and I'm 18 years younger? I work with kids all day and most of them are significantly more practical than he is. 3. I asked him what he did in his free time. He said he liked watching YouTube. He said he didn't have a lot of friends because people are jealous of him. I said, if you're 44 and you don't have any friends, it's your fault. He said that I was coming from a different perspective because men and women are different. Number 4, he said men and women can't be friends. I mentioned a guy friend, and this dickhead was saying men and women can't be friends and this and that and the other. He said that all my male friends are trying to smash. I mentioned my friends, who is also my coworker friend. He said that he was also trying to smash. I'm pretty doubtful of that because my friend would kill us both, but whatever. He then asked if he could see me again, and I said no. He asked why, and I replied that we were not compatible. He said, I hope you find a man who's down with all those guy friends you have, which is goofy because you were wanting to be that guy right before I told you I didn't want to. But again, that's whatever. Anyway, that's the end of my story. Wild. This was the dumbest story I've ever heard. I don't know why she's complaining about this guy just because he watches YouTube and used to be a pro boxer. I mean, this guy genuinely sounds like a cool dude, you know? I mean, the one thing I don't agree with is like, yeah, you can have guy friends, but at the same time, dude, as someone dating a girl, like when you're dating someone, you don't want her to have guy friends. I'm on his side right there. So I don't know why she couldn't give him the second chance. He does not sound like a deadbeat, you know. This guy sounds like a genuine dude. So I would call in and try to get that second date. That sounds way better. Before I keep continuing with these stories, I think I should let you guys know these are all Reddit stories. So these, I don't want to give claim to them. These are people on different kinds of communities on Reddit. So that's where these stories come from. My boyfriend has been acting terrified of me since we got back from the Appalachian Trail. I don't know what I did wrong. I need to write this down because I feel like I'm losing my mind, and putting it somewhere outside of my head might help. Dane and I have been together for 4 years. We're the kind of couple that finishes each other's sentences, that has a whole private language of inside jokes and shorthand. I know him better than I know anyone. I say that because I need you to understand that when I tell you something is wrong with him, I'm not being paranoid. I know this man. We got back from a section hike on the Appalachian Trail 11 days ago. We did about 200 miles over 3 weeks, starting in Virginia. It was Dane's idea. He'd always wanted to do a long stretch, and I had never done anything longer than a weekend trip. I was nervous. He was so excited he could barely sleep the week before we left. The first 2 weeks were incredible. Hard, but incredible. We fell into a rhythm. We'd bike until late afternoon, set up camp, cook whatever dehydrated thing we'd packed, and lie on top of our sleeping bags talking until one of us fell asleep mid sentence. I felt closer to him out there than I ever had. No phones, no obligations, just the two of us in the mountain. It was the third week when things started to feel off. I don't know how to explain it except to say that the woods changed. Not visibly. Everything looked the same, the trail, the same trees, but the quality of the air felt different, thicker somehow, like the atmosphere had shifted by a degree you couldn't measure but could feel in your chest. Dane felt it too. He got quieter. He'd always been the one pointing things out. Look at that ridge, look at that bird, but he stopped. He just hiked, eyes forward, jaw set. On the fourth night of that week, I woke up in the middle of the night and he wasn't in the tent. I found him standing about 20 feet away at the tree line, just standing there looking into the dark. I called his name and he turned around so fast it startled me. He looked. I don't know. Not scared exactly, more like he'd been caught doing something. He said he needed to use the bathroom. We went back to the tent. He didn't sleep after that. I could feel him lying awake next to me all night. We finished the hike 2 days later and drove home. I thought once we were back in our apartment with our things and our routine, he'd return to himself. He hasn't. He flinches when I touch him. Not every time, but enough that I've started hesitating before I reach for him. Last week I came up behind him while he was doing dishes and put my hand on his shoulder, and he made a sound, not a word, just a sound, and stepped away from me. He apologized immediately, said he was jumpy lately, blamed it on bad sleep. He's not sleeping. I hear him up at all hours, but when I get up to check on him, he's always come back to bed right away, says he's fine, and lies there stiff as a board until I fall asleep. He started locking the bathroom door at night. We share a bedroom. We share a bed. For the past 6 days, I've been waking up on the couch with no memory of getting there, and the bedroom door locked from the inside, and Dane on the other side of it, claiming he has no idea how I ended up in the living room. He says I must be sleepwalking. He says it gently, the way you say things to someone you're frightened of. I asked him last night to please just tell me what was wrong. I sat across from him at the kitchen table, and I asked him to look me in the eye and tell me what I had done. He looked at me for a long time. His jaw worked. I watched him decide something. He said, You haven't done anything. I've just been in my head since the trail. I'm sorry. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. he let go after less than a second. I went to the bathroom after dinner and stood at the sink for a long time. I looked at myself in the mirror. Normal, tired, a little thinner than before the hike, but normal. I turned the faucet on and splashed water on my face. When I looked up, I was smiling. I hadn't smiled. I wasn't smiling, but my reflection was just for a second, just long enough for me to see it wearing an expression I had not put there, wide and still and patient. Then it was just my face again. I told myself it was the lighting, the water in my eyes, but I've been thinking about the third week on the trail, how the air changed, how I have almost no clear memory from those last 2 days of hiking, just flashes, a strange taste in my mouth, a sound like something large moving parallel to the trail just past where the trees got thick. Waking up outside the tent once with the dirt under my fingernails and no explanation. I've been thinking about how Dane stood at that tree line that night, how he looked when he turned around, the sound he made when I touched his shoulder. I've been thinking about the mirror. I've been telling myself I need to ask him what he saw on that trail. But there's another part of me, patient, underneath, that doesn't want him to answer. That part doesn't want him to say it out loud. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I should be scared of what's happening to Dane or scared of something else entirely. I just know that last night I dreamed about the woods, the smell of them, the dark, and when I woke up I was hungry in a way I've never been before, a way I don't have words for. I don't know how to end this post because I don't know what I'm even asking. I guess I just needed someone else to know. I guess just my first question is, was there service on this hike? Because if there was, and you went outside the tent and he was standing there all weird, he was probably texting some other chick and you scared the crap out of him, and then he never acted the same. I think my mom just kidnapped me. I guess I should preface this by saying that I am a sophomore in high school. As embarrassing as it is, I'm not allowed to drive just yet, so my mom has to drop me off at school every morning. I'm not a bus person. That being said, this morning was pretty much identical to all the others. Mom drove me the 15 minutes to school and dropped me off in a bit of a hurry because we had been running a little late. I made it all the way to fourth period when an announcement came over the intercom. I was getting checked out of school early for some reason, which of course I had no issue with. I actually had some pep in my step as I made my way to the front office. I was still confused though, because normally mom would inform me if I was getting out of school early, so I texted her and asked what the occasion was. I didn't get a response right away, but when I saw her standing in the front office, I figured I'd ask her face to face. There was something off about her though. It was hard to put my finger on. Just the way she was staring at me and smiling through the office window, I didn't feel like a warm, motherly smile. There was something, I don't know, mischievous about it. I also found it weird that she wasn't wearing the same clothes she had been when she dropped me off. It would have been pretty odd for her to have driven home to change before picking me up, especially since her job was a full 45 minutes away. Whatever, though, I was getting out of this hellhole early. That's all that mattered. As we were exiting the building, Mom had to actually guide me to her car because apparently the special occasion was that she had gotten a new one. I thought it was cute, honestly. She wanted to show off the new ride to her son. I don't know how she'd managed to get the interior so dirty in such a short amount of time, though. The entire back seat was full of fast food bags, soda bottles, and all manner of garbage. Once we were settled, I asked the question that had been burning at my mind since the announcement came through the intercom. So, where to? Did you check your favorite son out to grab some lunch? Please tell me you did. Mom laughed, but her response was pretty benign. Haha, no. She drew it out like she was trying not to ruin a surprise, almost like she was trying not to laugh. I tried to create some dialogue or at least engage in a conversation, but all of her responses were equally as dry. All I could really do was just be quiet and enjoy the ride, which I did for a while. It was nice enjoying the quality time. However, when she started taking us out of town, it became increasingly difficult to keep my mouth shut. I mean, she was taking us down roads that I had never seen before. We were already in completely unfamiliar territory where my mom started to ring. Dad was calling me, but when mom noticed, she told me not to answer, told me that he was going to ruin the surprise. Dad must have called 5 or 6 times back to back, and each time she demanded I did not answer, her giggle breaking through more and more with each phone call. That's when a new notification came across my screen, a text from mom. What are you talking about? I'm not checking you out today. Why aren't you answering your dad? That's a skinwalker! That's a skinwalker, dude! Oh my gosh. No, you are with a demon. Get the freak out of that car! I think my son is a serial killer. I tried my best. I really fucking tried. I didn't want parenthood, but when it's given to you, hell, it's hard not to fall in love with it. It has its ups and downs, sure, but through it all, you learn to love your child. They're an extension of you, a part of yourself that you can try and mold into an even better version. Unfortunately, people aren't as clean cut as that. You tell them to zig and they zag. It's just how life is. Beyond the disagreements and head bumping, though, it's still possible to raise a kid, bring them upright in the world. That's what I thought I was doing. My son was well mannered, a gentleman, and God did he have his way with the ladies. Once high school started, it seemed like every other week he was telling me all about his new love or how he was sure this was the one. He was only 15, but who was I to cast doubt on whatever love life he found for himself? However, by 17, he was actually bringing girls over to meet us, having dinner with his mom and I. Now, I'm not the best with names, but I do remember faces quite well. That's why, when I started noticing the missing person flyers, I was quick to cock an eyebrow. But this is my son we're talking about, the boy who I'd raised since I was a child myself. I was 16 when he was born. I worked my ass off for him. We grew up together. I couldn't convince myself that everything was peachy forever, though, and by the time I saw Miranda's name on one of those flyers, the most recent girl he had brought home, I knew that I had to talk to him. I needed to set things straight, give some relief to my suspicion. I begged God, prayed like a madman that I was wrong, but the more I thought, the more I started connecting the dots. I'd never had one of these girls visit more than once or twice. I'd already caught my son sneaking out at night on multiple occasions. He seemed to always have those hollow eyes whenever he interacted with any of them. When he talked about them, though, it was different. It was like he was truly excited, but not in that normal teenage boy kind of way. It was like when he talked to me about them, he was fantasizing, thinking about what he wanted to do to them. When I finally got home after a long day at the office, I actually sprinted up the stairs to my son's room to inquire. To my disappointment, the room was empty and my son was nowhere to be seen. What did I find though? Were missing person flyers, folded neatly on his nightstand, each one depicting a different ex girlfriend. Now, if it had just been the flyers by themselves, I'd been able to explain it away. Maybe he was helping to hang them up. Maybe he had just run out to finish and had forgotten to grab them. No life can ever be that easy. What made me realize that I needed to do more than just talk to my son was what had been written on the flyers. Scrawled across each flyer in the handwriting that I had helped my boy practice with were complaints. Too loud, too demanding, too arrogant, too annoying. I sifted through the papers and by the end had read a total of 7 complaints. A tear fell down my face, streaming down the cheek, dipping into my newly discovered smile. I must have been in a trance because I didn't even hear the bedroom door open. All I remember is that faint quiet. Dad? Before I turned to greet my son. Emotion overwhelmed me, and all I could think to say as I outstretched my arms for a hug was, "That's my boy." Wait a minute! That was the biggest plot twist in the world. Is this Dexter? This is Dexter and his son. Oh my. Oh my gosh, dude. Report this kid to the police. What is this guy doing? Someone has been leaving my daughter dead animals. To be completely honest, I should have known this was bound to happen sooner or later. I knew my daughter was gonna. Wait, what? How did you know this was gonna happen sooner or later? Sorry. Sorry for interrupting. That was too crazy of a beginning. I knew my daughter was gonna grow up beautiful. I mean, her mom's absolutely stunning. I was honestly relieved when she was born looking more like her than me. As she grew up, though, I started to regret that feeling. The boys were crazy about her, always asking her out on dates, using gifts to get her attention, swooning over her. It was sickening. My daughter made me proud, though. She knew better than to just throw her heart and body around all willy nilly. She was a student before anything else, completely future oriented. I found confidence in that head on her shoulders. She knew that boys at this age hardly ever had her best interest in mind, and hey, at least she was getting snacks and flowers out of it. I think that one of them didn't take the rejection too well, though. Hell, I don't even know if it was a rejection. He could very well have just done this to get her attention, to show that he was different than anybody else. All I know for certain is that someone was leaving dead rats on our front porch, a different rodent every day, always paired with a handwritten note from her secret admirer. Of course, I decided to shield this from my daughter. I couldn't have her seeing this kind of nonsense. Besides, what would it do besides make her scared and vulnerable? The notes were enough to make me question whether or not I should keep these discoveries private, though. Whoever this kid was, he had an air of malice about him. I hope you see this. A gift from me to you. I've been watching you for some time now. I can't wait to have you. I opted to set up security cameras on the front porch. I was going to catch this edgelord, Edgar Allan Poe wannabe, if it was the last thing I did. See, that's the thing. I thought I was setting up to catch another teenager, some random mentally disturbed kid who maybe rode the same bus as my daughter. Nothing could have possibly prepared me for what I saw, what the camera captured, not even in a week after I'd set it up, because despite what I thought would have been a clear-cut gotcha moment, it turned into police sirens echoing throughout my neighborhood when I watched that footage, because what I saw was my 35-year-old next door neighbor placing a dead rat and a handwritten note on my doorstep. Yeah, I'm pulling the shotgun out, knocking down that neighbor's door, and blowing a hole through his cock. I think my wife is hiding something in our freezer. Me and my wife have been together for nearly 5 years now. We were high school sweethearts, went against our parents' better judgment when we ran off and got married fresh out of high school. What can you do, right? We were young and dumb, but hey, I was financially stable enough to support us, get us a nice life, double wide trailer on the outskirts of town, put food on the table, keep cable on the TV, that sort of thing. She knew it wasn't forever. She knew that I'd keep my promise and get us an actual house, put us somewhere nice, an HOA neighborhood without the HOA. I think her pregnancy scared her. I mean, she was only 20. Of course it scared her. But when we found out we were having twins, that's when she really started to slip off the deep end. I blamed it on the pregnancy at first, her mood swings, those violent bursts of anger and frustration right before tears started streaming down her face. But when the symptoms progressed, even after giving birth, they became harder to just ignore. We got the best of both worlds, a little boy named Jackson and our sweet little Roxanne. I can't even describe it. It was like she hated them. She'd scream at them when they cried. She'd just get in their faces and scream for them to shut up at the top of her lungs. Countless fights were started solely because I tried to calm her down through her routine fits. That's when her anger became more focused on me personally. And look, I get it, okay? Don't have 'em if you can't support 'em. I love those kids, and I will never call them mistakes. God's plan is what they were. Even still, they were two new mouths to feed. I think that's what bothered my wife so much. Her hopes of an actual home had just gotten pushed back by a significant margin. You need to ask for a raise. You need to ask for a promotion. You need to ask for another job. Her words rattled around in my head like loose sticks of dynamite. I knew I needed to step up. I knew that this couldn't be our life forever. I started working double shifts, leaving my wife home to take care of the kids, 14-hour days, 7 days a week, and it still wasn't enough. My cash of savings was hardly even touching $1,000, and I was slowly killing myself. My wife wasn't doing too well either. I think the constant childcare may have been taking a bit of a toll on her. She was looking more and more exhausted every day. Her hair was constantly a mess, and her eye bags looked to weigh at least 20 pounds each. I wanted to take over. I wanted to give her a night out, but I couldn't. I was working constantly. All of my money was going straight towards bills, food, and college funds. God, I can't even say I was surprised when I came home to find the house eerily silent. No cries, no screams, no laughter, just long, agonizing silence. Honey, I called out. Down here, darling. Her voice was coming from the basement. She sounded more chipper than usual, but not exactly in the most pleasant of ways. It was an unhinged kind of delight, like she was overcompensating for something. I made my way to the top of the stairs, where I found two distinct streaks of blood leading down each step. The sounds of chains and locks echoed from somewhere in the basement. I reached the bottom step and found my wife standing beneath a single overhead light that illuminated both her and the suspiciously stained meat freezer. Chains wrapped twice around the thing, and a big metal lock held them in place. My wife turned to greet me in her blood soaked nightgown. She wore a fake smile on her face, so depraved that she barely looked human. Honey, I choked. Where are the kids? She started laughing, giggling at first, but it soon turned into a full blown meltdown of laughter. Oh, you know, she laughed. I'm sure they're around here somewhere. Please don't tell me this story was real. Oh my gosh, how do you even have the guts to write this on Reddit if it's real? Dude, oh my gosh. The man in my son's drawings. Preschool, a nightmare for both children and parents alike. The kids are finally getting a taste of what the next 15 or so years of their lives are going to look like, and the parents have to finally let go of their little angel for what's likely the first time of their lives. It's painful. Well, for me it was. I'm not sure if that's exactly how other parents feel. Seems like they should, but to each their own, I suppose. All I know is that it was complete waterworks for both me and my son on his first day of school. I was ugly crying from the moment we pulled into the car ride lane. I think it scared my son, and that made him cry, which made me cry even more, and it only got worse when I had to watch him tearfully get taken away by one of the members of the staff who led him into the building. Let me just say, the whole day I was a wreck. Like I genuinely felt like I was dying inside. That look on his face as they took him away. God, how I lingered. Apparently, I wasn't the only one feeling despair that day. I remember when I picked him up, that look the staff lady gave me, like she was relieved to get rid of him. There you go, there's your daddy. Go see daddy, she begged, patting my son on the back. Before I could even ask my boy how his first day of school had gone, the staff lady was at my window. She sounded twice as exhausted, but also relieved to finally be speaking to the parent of this apparent noter. Good afternoon, sir, she announced in a customer service voice. We had a little issue with Ryan. Nothing too major. He wouldn't stop screaming and crying for hours after you dropped him off. I glanced at Ryan in the rearview mirror. He stared down, almost mindlessly, at some sheets of paper in his lap while this lady laid into me. Oh no, I responded. Well, you know he's a kid, first day of school, gonna definitely take some getting used to. Oh, believe me, we understand completely, she shot back. We eased him into things. Only thing that soothed the crying was coloring, though. As soon as those crayons came out, it was like he turned into a completely different kid. Her face didn't seem to match what she was describing. She looked concerned, borderline worried. Daddy, look, Ryan chirped from the back seat. Daddy will look as soon as we get home, buddy. Sorry, ma'am. Should probably get this one home. I swear he'll be on his best behavior tomorrow. Won't you, Ryan? He nodded eagerly from the back seat. The entire drive home, all he seemed to talk about were those drawings, asking me to look at them every mile or so. It was honestly driving me crazy, and pulling into the driveway felt like a relief. All right, kiddo, I chimed, sliding the back door to the minivan open. Let's see those pictures you drew. My heart melted when he showed me. This one's of you, he quirked, showing me the picture. This one's mommy, and this one's the man in the hallway. I gasped at the black scribbles on the page. It was hardly man-looking. What was on that page was more like a black mass. The only remotely human features he had drawn were the two bright red eyes at the top of the figure. What do you mean the man in the hallway, Ryan? I asked, completely exasperated. You know, he chirped, the man who sees you and mommy sleep sometimes? Let's just say dinner that night was pretty tense. I couldn't get the image out of my head. I even talked to my wife about it, and all she could say was, kids have wild imaginations. I wanted to accept that explanation. I wanted more than anything for that to be the answer, and I almost did. I had almost completely convinced myself that all this could be boiled down to kids being weird. Unfortunately, those hopes were dashed when I awoke at nearly 3 in the morning that night. I don't even know what woke me up, but I know it was a jolt when it happened. I shot up in bed, scanning the room in a cold sweat. I saw nothing. I was about to lie back down when I heard the bedroom door creak open. The entire house was dark, save for two glowing red eyes that stared furiously at me and my wife. Oh, hell nah. No, you gotta move out of that house instantly. Get that kid out of school. Don't ever give that kid crayons ever again. Just give him an iPad and turn him. This is the only explanation for iPad kids. I would make this kid an iPad kid. Don't give him any more drawings. He's gonna turn this into a horror movie. If you guys stayed this long throughout the video, I hope you've enjoyed it so far. This again is my first full video I've ever posted in like 8 years, so it's gonna take a while to get used to it again and get better with editing and storytelling and stuff. So let me know if this is honestly your vibe. I want to continue doing this because I just love reading these, and I think most of them are true stories. Some of them sound a little more exaggerated, but I really enjoy it. So love you guys, and comment what you would like to see next.